Hello and welcome everyone to Weekend Rental episode 49. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. You'll find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and at weekendpodcast.com. My name is Ryan, and as always, I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
And Nate.
What's going on, guys?
All right, so let's jump right into our opening segment. Buy, Rent, Burn. If you're new to the show, basically we each pick a game for a given system. This outing, it is the Sega Master System. We'll play those games individually, and then we'll give our opinions on which ones we would buy, rent, or burn. So the picks this week, Andy has gone with Rastan or Rastan. Do you know? Is there?
I have no idea.
One of those.
Conan, I think it's pronounced.
Conan, yes. And Nate has gone with The Amazing Spider-Man versus the Kingpin, or just Spider-Man versus Kingpin. I saw it both ways all over the net. And I've selected Double Dragon. So let's go back up to the top. We'll read a little description on Andy's pick here. Rastan. You are Rastan, or Rastan, an iron-muscled barbarian from the cold Northlands. Bounty hunter by trade, you fear no man or dark slavering beast. You are a master of every edged weapon. Now the king has given you a quest: rescue his daughter from the deepest reaches of Samia, a land where evil villains fear to tread. Succeed, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams shall be your reward.
Yeah, I mean, it's an action platformer where you look like straight up like Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan.
And that's kind of the plot of Conan.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. They weren't hiding anything, I don't think. But this game is, I mean, it's a pretty well-known arcade game. Though I don't know if I've ever actually
It's a brutal arcade game. I played this all the time.
You did, huh? I don't think
sucked.
I ever have.
Yeah, like instant, like it was so unforgiving. I just remember like it's one of those games where I was a little too young to play it, and like you drop your quarter in and it was like I blew it within the first minute every time.
Really? Wow. Huh. Did they give you a life bar, or was it one hits and stuff like that?
That I can't recall. I just know it was very easy to die. But again, it was one of those early arcade games, like, because Conan was huge at the time, and it was one of those games that just had big, awesome sprites. So like it really stood out at the time. But yeah, I did play it, not well.
It took me a while to figure out that there's two jump heights in this game. Because I'm like, there has to be something. I got stuck in a point where I couldn't get in over something, and it was like, okay, something's up. So yeah, there's just a regular jump, which is just like tiny, and then you have to press up and jump at the same time to jump higher, and you'll probably be doing that more than anything, and it feels pretty clunky because you also a lot of times have to move right at the same time, so you're pressing right up and jump at the same time. And
your best attack for moving forward without taking damage is to double jump and then like down stab. So like I found myself doing that a lot to traverse stages.
The jump took me forever to figure out. I mean, in a world where you're just supposed to press one button and jump, and I was like, okay, what am I doing wrong here? And it took me forever, so I thought you had to hit both buttons and then up, and so I'm like swinging the sword and jumping in this weird, like, strange motion. But it wasn't difficult at all. Like, I felt like the first level was a breeze, and just kind of, you were extremely powerful, and as soon as a monster would come, like, there's a big distance, and so, I don't know. To me, it wasn't overly difficult. Even the boss wasn't a big deal.
I feel like they consoleized it very well with that in mind. Like, even I know for a fact, well, I shouldn't say for a fact, but I'm almost positive that those platforms where you had to jump into the water and stuff, they weren't that forgiving. That was like instant death in the arcade. So here they let you like take damage but land in the water and jump forward. So they did a good job of bringing it home and making it approachable to all ages. Because the original Rastan, like the arcade game, I don't know if any of you have played like Volgar, I think it's called the Viking God or whatever, on current consoles. That to me felt like an homage to that game in that it's that brutal. So playing this, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually really liked. Well, I always had nostalgia for this arcade game, and then playing this home port, I was impressed. Like I thought it was a good conversion, probably better than the arcade.
Ryan, you have the weirdest experience with arcades. Like the ones that I've never heard of, you're like, oh yeah, I totally played that all the time. I loved it. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know this was a real thing. So
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
we had good local arcades at my little crap hole town, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they knew what was up. I do love how he like walks around with that sword like a baseball bat.
Yes.
That's pretty
Yes.
much how he swings it. That's how I would do it. So
Did you think like the up motion was funny though? Like he was just like just I don't know, it was so weird. It just looked
oh yeah, when he was
super
climbing ropes.
Yeah.
right, yeah, climbing ropes, and it just looked like it didn't. It was kind of an afterthought. Some of his movement, I still found it pretty enjoyable though, for just what it is. Like it's a game that you can just sit down. You don't have to stress too much about it. I'm sure it gets way more difficult as the levels progress, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I like that it's got like really gnarly enemy design. Like they put a lot of detail into making their enemies look weird. Like as a 8-year-old kid, I'd love that. Like they're all kind of like freakish looking monsters, and you get to hack them to bits. What's not to love about that?
I bet
A little blood.
I bet the 8-year-old would have loved the straight up nudity in this game too. Did you see that?
I don't. Did I miss it?
There is like a fairy or something, or a winged creature in the second level after you beat the first boss, flying around at the top. She's straight up has her boobs out.
Okay, I did not catch that, but now I'm gonna have to go back and check this out.
Yeah. It's crazy how Nintendo was censoring any little thing, and then like that completely flew over everybody's radar.
Nice. And Sega nips when Nintendo don't, I guess. All right, so let's move on to Nate's pick: Spider-Man versus Kingpin. Description on this one: enter a vicious web of danger and disaster. The Kingpin of crime frames Spider-Man for planting a bomb in New York. Spidey's only hope is to find the keys to the bomb's location before it explodes. Help Spider-Man stick it to the Kingpin and his horde of vicious assassins along the way. Enter hand-to-hand combat with Dr. Octopus. Put the Sandman to sleep and use dazzling aerobatics to take on Lizard, Hobgoblin, and Venom.
Sounds like an awesome game.
Sounds like the comic.
I didn't play it. I didn't play the awesome game. I want to preface this pick. I recently finished PS4 Spider-Man, so I was on that kick. And yes, everyone that's listening, and even you guys, I understand that every Spider-Man game leading up to this point is awful and just sucks. Yes, I hear it, and this one is no exception. It was not great. So this is a classic, I guess, beat 'em up in a way. One thing that I thought was really cool to start with was you were able to shoot your web, you were able to swing, and from what I could gather, it didn't really limit you to how much you use. I know some of the other Spider-Man games, you have to like gather web in order to shoot web, I guess. So this one allowed you to kind of freely move that way. But you are introduced right in the game with cops shooting at your face, and there's no dodging it. Even if you punch them, they fly back and then shoot you immediately. It's super frustrating. Even the first level, it's not clear exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I think, Ryan, you said it took you forever to figure out that you had to go through the top window. And once you get to the window, you don't know how to get into the window. You mean, the description comes across as like this awesome game, but I feel like I'm just picking turds for Buy, Rent, Burn.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So I think you're missing a couple of key Spider-Man games that were good too, and those would be like the Spider-Man 2 game and stuff on 2 gens ago, like Xbox and PlayStation and GameCube. That one was actually good. And then there's one for the PlayStation that's good from Neversoft, I think. But yeah, almost all of them exclusively in 2D. There are some 16-bit ones that aren't awful, like Carnage I don't hate. But yeah, they're not great. I will say this one did not play well. This one reminded me a lot of. I think there's a few for the Game Boy, but there's one in the Game Boy in particular that I owned where you start out in New York City, like skateboarding through you don't skateboard through the park. You punch guys on skateboards, and you can ride the skateboard. And this played almost exactly like that, where it's just like an exercise in frustration. The only difference is this game for an 8-bit game looked great. Like you said, the opening stuff, the cinematics, that was all really well done. The art was great. The design of the characters in the game were good. Master System, so everything was really vibrant and colorful and not choppy. It's just it fell apart in the gameplay department for me. They nailed like the web slinging and swinging stuff, like you said. That felt cool, but at the same time, it didn't feel like I had total control. And yeah,
it's still clunky.
Right. And by the time I figured out I needed to get into the window and then failed to do so after about 3 attempts and continues, I just stopped. I'm sure there's more to this game that maybe could redeem it, but I'll never know.
So I really like this game.
What?
Yeah. I think it's really clunky because they tried to do everything that you would expect Spider-Man to do. I mean,
Sure.
He climbs the walls, he swings. Like, how are you supposed to put that all in an 8-bit game like that? But they tried to do it, and I don't know. It's kind of clunky in that regard, but it's halfway there. I mean, it feels like a good Spider-Man game, and I don't know. And then once you get into more of the story mechanic where you have to defuse the bomb that Kingpin set, there's a time limit. So as you're playing, there's a timer running on the side of the screen pretty much the whole time you're playing. And after
did you beat the game?
No.
Okay.
No. But after every level, you it says, oh, maybe I should go back and rest. So you can go back to your house and rest, which increases your health again, but it obviously takes time off the timer. So I thought that was a really interesting mechanic in an old game.
It is cool.
That like is constantly overarching it, the whole game. I can't think of many games that have that type of mechanic that in an 8-bit game. But I don't know. I mean, that second level was kind of weird. Like you don't really know what to do either, so you just start beating guys, and eventually a forklift comes, and then you try and beat the forklift, and then Doc Ock comes, and that was a weird fight. You didn't really know what you were supposed to do, but eventually somehow beat him. So I ended because I fell down a hole, and you were supposed to climb up, but there was a bunch of spikes, so you had to jump past the spikes, then grab on, and the controls just were fighting me the whole time, and
Sure.
I just got eaten by the crocodile, and I was like, okay, that's enough of this game. But I
felt that it was like this constant like button mashing panic. There's so much happening, especially in the first level, and you're like just button mashing away, and you're like, I don't even know what button is doing what at this point, and then you're trying individual things. Yeah, that's a good analogy. You're just constantly fighting the controls on trying to understand how they operate.
Yeah, even getting to that window, I mean, there's no great way to get there. You have to swing and then like somehow get climbing on the top thing, on the top row of windows.
I think this solidifies one thing for me, though. The Master System is pretty impressive. Like, we did the last Master System we talked about how when we chose Rocky, that opening screen was like, wow, the colors are vibrant, the details and the graphics were definitely there. And this was the same thing with Spider-Man. I was like, okay, this could potentially be a really good game. However, it didn't play well for me, but it looked amazing, especially just those cutscenes and everything. It's very impressive.
Yeah, those look straight out of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Or comics, yeah.
Well, I wish I'd have gotten to like experience a little bit more of it like you guys did, but maybe I'll have to watch a Let's Play or something, because I don't know that I have it in me to go back and try and make it through that window.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the last one, my pick. Double Dragon, I'll read the description on it, although everyone should probably be familiar. In a city destroyed by war and crime, You count on each other to survive. You are Billy and Jimmy Lee, the twins they call Spike and Hammer. When it comes to martial arts, you're both straight lethal, leaping kicks, knee smashes, judo throws. You are the masters. Now get ready for the biggest battle of all. The Black Warriors, the meanest gang in the city, has kidnapped Jimmy's girlfriend, Mary Ann. She's the bait they're using to lure them onto their turf. You're going to get her back and take care of the Black Warriors gang once and for all. Very iconic game. For me and probably a lot of people, that arcade was one of the first beat 'em ups, like true beat 'em ups that I recall seeing. That opening segment, the girl getting punched, the gang walking away, the music, that all seared into my 5-year-old brain. So this port came out in 1988, the same year as the NES port. And the reason I brought this up is because I feel that this is the best conversion for that era to a home system, because it does what to me is most important to any beat 'em up, and especially to Double Dragon, and that is the fact that you can beat the shit out of people with a buddy in co-op. A lot of people don't give the Master System version props. They like the NES one. I am sorry. This is not my opinion. Factually, you are all incorrect. The NES version is an abomination and a disappointment. I recall renting that, running home with my buddy from the grocery store back in the day, popping into his Nintendo, having both controllers hooked up, and furiously pressing start and select and A and B on player 2, only to realize that we couldn't. And it was soul crushing. And that's why this one's the best. It's the best. 2-player co-op. And it can do 3 sprites on screen, enemy sprites, with a whole bunch of flicker, but it can do it. Double Dragon. What more do you need to know? 2-player. Best version.
I agree. This port is pretty awesome compared to the NES. I never got attached to the NES one. Number 2 and number 3, that's a whole different story. But yeah, I had the same experience. All right, Double Dragon, here we go. It's in the name, double, 2. We got 2 brothers, 2 controllers, 1 player. So super frustrating, but it's Double Dragon. It's a good version of it. Very, very familiar. I think one of the funny stories for me with Double Dragon was that opening scene. So growing up, I was raised in a house like you don't raise a hand to a woman, like you don't hit a woman. And if you do, you're gonna get whooped really, really, really bad. And it was one of those moments that opening scene where he punches her in the stomach. You're like, oh,
right?
I can't believe this really happened. And like that was edgy for me to see something like that. But I mean, it's such a nostalgic game. It's a good game, and this is a great version of it.
Yeah, that beginning, it's like so iconic, isn't it? It's nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you said, the 2-player is like pretty much a must, and the NES not having that was a huge bummer. Although the NES does have Bimmy instead of Billy, so there's that.
So we won on some level.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've played the console versions. For whatever reason, like all these different cons that we go to, like you play the arcade one, and then you forget how the console one is compared to that, and it's not too bad, but I don't know. It seems I don't know. This one seems like it was scaled for 2 players, probably.
It's almost got like I kind of had forgotten how they squish the characters. It's almost like River City Ransom-ish, like mashing down.
Yeah,
you can still tell it's the game, but yeah, they're a lot shorter. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and for whatever reason, it seemed really hard compared to
yes,
even the arcade version.
I was thinking the same thing. Like I really struggled playing that solo. So I think it's almost. I mean, it is Double Dragon, so it's supposed to be hard because it's an arcade port. But I think really do enjoy this version. You have to have 2 people because otherwise you just get cornered so easily. Until you can get like a whip or something, then you stand a chance.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just as we were talking about that intro, and he's talking about the girl getting punched, which I vividly remember being like, "Oh my gosh!" Too. I was just remembering that Bithead 1000 intro, where instead of the gang coming out, Bithead walks out, like punches the girl, like curb stomps her, like grabs her by the hair, and just whips her around, like throws her through the garage door. There's just blood everywhere.
Oh jeez.
It's so great.
Oh,
the guy is hilarious. Love it.
Is it the second one where she gets straight up shot?
Oh,
I forget which one that is.
Yeah, I do
There's
recall
one of them
seeing
that's-
that. Wasn't a good time to be a damsel in distress in the 80s, I
No.
guess. All right.
No.
Should we do our picks? We could probably go on and on about Double Dragon, but who hasn't played that, right? And now we get to talk about the Ultimate version. So let's go back up to the top. We're going to go through our picks. Andy, you can kick it off.
Do I have to? Because this is really hard. This one.
Never mind.
I can talk myself in circles over this, and I'm still not exactly sure which order I want to put it in. Because I like parts of each of these, and then there's parts of them that are just straight up like frustrating and clunky. I think I'm going to do Rastan for my buy. Just because I enjoyed that the most, just kind of cruising through it.
I'm getting nervous for your second pick.
My rent is going to be Spider-Man.
No! How dare you?
I feel better about myself now.
You monster!
I really like that they tried to go for it in that game, and they had some really interesting mechanics. But ultimately, they bit off more than they could chew on a system with 2 buttons, I think. But yeah, and my burn, unfortunately, is going to be Double Dragon, because I don't know, like, I've been spoiled.
I will never forgive you for this, Andy.
I know. I felt really bad, and it's like, but when I look back at it, like, which one would I want to play anymore? It's like, no, I don't want to play Double Dragon anymore, because I don't have any friends to play it with right here on my
That's what I was going to say. Like, yeah, if you're looking at it as a solo endeavor, I could totally see that.
Just going off the experience that I played this week or whatever, but
sure,
I could see how back in the day, if you had a friend, like that's going to be the game, right? Double Dragon's going to be the buy in this case, but
Nate, how about you?
I'm shocked. I am just shocked. That's
he can't
not
even make
how
his
I
picks.
pictured that to go.
So shocked.
Now I feel like I don't even know if I'm choosing correctly.
Is this real life?
Is this even a thing? So I was gonna say the obvious choice, which that's a flat out lie now, would be my Double Dragon for the buy. It is just a nostalgic game to me, and so that's really hard to discount personally. Yeah, it's tough. I said this even before we started recording that Ryan, it always seems like you look at the list and you're like, oh, I'm just going to one up everyone and put something super familiar in that's like, oh yeah, that pulls at the heartstrings a little bit. So that is definitely going to be my buy. Rent is going to be Reston or whatever you want to call it. Very interesting game. I think it's fairly simple. I guess I've never played the arcade to compare it to. But I thought there was some really cool components there, some creepy components, and it was a little edgy. So that would be one that, a Friday night rent as a kid and not played in front of the parents, but have a sleepover or something like that and play something. And then obviously this leaves Spider-Man for the burn. And this is one I actually pictured renting as a kid because it looks so cool as you look through the box art and the description is very clear. But then, yeah, it'd be one of those like rents that you just instantly regret, or Ryan would make his mom go back and return because it's like, I can't even get through this window. Like, I can't play this for the next 3 days. So yeah, that's definitely going to be my burn. What about you, Ryan?
I'm gonna buy Rastan. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about two arcade games that I have vivid memories of growing up. Um, it was always a game that like drew my attention, like I said, as a kid. But the fact that I couldn't progress in it or had the funds to progress in it limited my enjoyment. So getting to see like this tamed down version, and having that nostalgia flood back, plus the fact that I could play this successfully alone, is the buy. I actually want to get a physical copy of this now. I enjoyed it that much. I'm gonna rent Double Dragon. I stand by. It is a far superior version of Double Dragon for the home console. But I think just the fact that, as we've said, if you don't have Player 2, it's hard to top like a more solid single player experience. So that's where it's going to be a rent for me, even though I do own it. And then Spider-Man, I liked everything about how it looked, and I liked the mechanics they fit in, but no thanks. I couldn't do that.
I'm not hurt over it. It's just, my game, my constant picks that you destroy. I'm fine.
Hey, you had Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I love that.
You're right. I gotta find more of those.
I would have bought Spider-Man, but it was just a little bit too broken. I think that was the most.
If you would have bought Spider-Man,
I can't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
I had the most fun with that one, but it was just like some of it was just like, it's too. This is way too clunky to even like recommend this game.
Does that even surprise you with Andy? Because it's always like we think it's very clear, and then he's like, I actually didn't mind it. But and like he always
and then
looks
he convinces
at this,
you that it's not like this pile of crap. Like I remember listening to that Out to Lunch one, and I was like, man, like I really got on board with what he was saying, but I did not like that game very much.
Right. You should go in politics. Like I was like, maybe Spider-Man is really good. Am I missing something? Every time.
Nice. You should be reviewing like all the shovelware games for some website out there. Getting paid for it.
Mobile phone games. Yeah,
that's your career path. You found it.
I just give them 9s across the board every time.
All right, another Byron burn in the books. All right, so moving on to the middle of the podcast here. I wanted to ask you guys, we'll do a little game here. I wanted to ask you a few questions. Would you say that you have a preoccupation with gaming?
Not anymore.
No.
I think you're both lying. Would you say?
Okay, yes.
Would you say that if gaming or games are taken away from you, you possibly experience sadness, anxiety, or irritability?
Absolutely.
Do you feel the need to play more games to satisfy the urge to tolerate or to, your tolerance towards gaming?
Absolutely. Always trying to satisfy the urge.
Okay. I don't want to alarm you, but you guys are well on your way to being officially diagnosed with gaming disorder, the official disease that is now recognized by the American Psychiatric Organization or World Health, I guess now. So you're all sick. Why don't you take some PTO?
Do they give us pills?
When do I get my pills?
As soon as you visit your local psychiatrist.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've had this since probably 1989.
I read an article how they
Yikes.
stress the importance of having it recognized as an official disease. That way, when people need to like take leave from work due to it, their insurances will cover the costs of treatment. So that's important.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I'm excited.
When GTA 6 comes out, I'm getting a hard case of gaming disorder. I'm telling you guys right now.
That's crazy.
Do you get the note from Dr. Mario?
Yeah. Yep.
Although that's kind of funny that they they're diagnosing this. You see some of the kids that, when parents, I don't know, even like on Jimmy Kimmel, that they videotape parents shutting off Fortnite and stuff like that. Like the kids are legitimately freaking out and losing their mind. Even like grown teenagers. I don't ever remember acting that way as a kid. Again, different time, whatever, different upbringing, I suppose. But it's just so funny that they're diagnosing this stuff. It's for those people that are playing Fortnite legitimately.
Well, and the thing is, like, it doesn't bother me so much that they're recognizing that people could have an addiction to it. But, like, to me, does there have to be the designation? Isn't it just addiction? It doesn't matter what it is. Alcohol, drugs, porn. I mean, it's addiction is the underlying, like, what you're addicted to. I don't know. It just kind of, like, sheds a negative light on a very large industry that's, like, fought its way to legitimacy within the last maybe decade. Where finally it's accepted. Like, it's not weird that I go home and play Fortnite as an adult with kids and a job. I mean, I don't play Fortnite, but I could.
But you don't.
Right. I haven't.
And the interesting part is, like, I don't think they're really talking about the people that are playing, like, World of Warcraft who have to piss in a bottle. You know? It's not necessarily that type of addiction. It's more like the people that are, like, their success in a video game is, like, more important, or it feels better to them than success in life.
Yeah, than real world successes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's so anything. Like, anytime you put away real world responsibilities for anything other than, I mean, for something that frivolous, which is, again, it's addiction.
That's drinking, right? That's everything, it's getting away from the world, right? And problems.
And they're trying to, I mean, this has been ongoing for many, many years of them just cornering the video game market, like trying to, put their backs against the wall a little bit, that it's this evil thing, that it's this bad thing. But yeah, it's the same thing as, you might be sitting in school thinking about, okay, this is how this game is going to go. And if I do this, I mean, we've all been there, even at work, sitting like, how am I going to beat this boss? But that's no different than kids wanting to go out and they're thinking about playing basketball nonstop, and it's consuming them, that they can't wait to get on the court. I mean, it's no different. And so I still believe they look at us differently than everybody else.
I think the parents are parents are gaming more than they ever have, obviously. So I think that's getting a little bit normal, but the people that are making laws and in government and all this stuff, they're not, they're obviously even mostly a generation above that, and still look at games like meanwhile they'll go home and watch movies all night, and there's no addiction to that. Or
let's talk about their Netflix accounts.
I feel like the media treatment of video gaming hasn't changed since like the days of like Columbine, where like anything negative, it's a video game's fault. And then the fact that somebody is legitimizing the fact that it can be negative implications to the video game just like fuels that propaganda. So here's what I do at work. Like, at least 3 times a day, I Google gaming news, and I can't click in anything because I work in an area where they lock down all the websites, but I can read the thumbnails and get like an idea what's going on for the day. And the day that designation became official by the World Health Organization, like all like 20 Google hits that you can like see more, like do the slideshow. They were all the same article, the same news, every platform. And it was just like, of course, this is dominating it. Pissed me off.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are people that need help. I mean, that's a fact, but like that's got to be such a small percentage of people.
To say it to a broad source of it, like it's obviously a certain sector of what the game is doing for that person, not a large group of people being addicted to just gaming.
Yeah, there's not some dude on like a shady street corner with a trench coat. And he's like, "Hey kid, come over here. I got something for you. Want a little of this Mike Tyson's Punch Out, huh? Like, take that home." You know, like I don't know. It's like you're treating it to me. They're treating it almost on the same level as like that, and that's where I have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it's an underlying issue, anyways. Like you said, just with any addiction issue, drugs, alcohol, whatever, sports. That's an addiction. Family can be an addiction. Whatever. You know, there's an underlying issue. There's some psychic issues.
Psychic
that cause
or psychological
that behavior. Psychological.
Okay.
Thank you, Webster. Appreciate.
Well, I just don't want people thinking people were becoming telepathic due to video games. We'd have like a whole X-Men scare. That wasn't going to be good. Yeah. So there you go. We're all sick.
I do feel jealous of my parents, whereas at least our games paused, where these ones don't. Like you see all those Fortnite people getting their thing cut off. Well, that's why they're so upset, is because they can't pause it, right? Like,
right.
It's true.
Where we could.
And we never shut the consoles off anyways. Just shut the TV off.
Yep.
Nobody bump this thing. Or else my 8 hours in Super Mario Brothers 3 is all for naught.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I can say, though, like, I've had, like, saves corrupted, and I've probably went off the handle on something like that before.
I have also had that happen. Or like back in the days where you could only save every so often, like on the PlayStation, then you would get to a spot where something clearly glitched and you could not progress, and you're like, nope, I just lost 4 hours. F this, I'm done. That's the worst.
I've had that a few times with games.
Yeah, but that's logical. I mean, you lost time.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Psychic.
At least none of us had
Got it.
Zachary the disease, so I'm excited about that. No one's gonna ask. All right.
I'm not.
Tell me more, Ryan.
So
what is this?
Ed Zachary disease is when your face looks Ed Zachary like your ass. So I'm saying we're a handsome podcast is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Yes, definitely we got faces for radio.
That's why we do this thing.
That's right.
Yeah. So Death Stranding, which I would have bet money on it would have been a PlayStation 5 game.
Uh-huh. That's where I was at.
It is coming out this year, November. And he put out an 8-minute trailer. 8 or 7.5 minutes of that probably didn't make any sense.
Are you still a post-apocalyptic package messenger?
Yeah, like your job is to like reconnect the USA after like the apocalypse happened or something happened in the US. You're talking to the president, this president lady. She's in the deathbed. Like the deathbed is in the Oval Office. It's pretty great.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but she's like, he's talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, you got to unite the country." And
to Norman Reedus, like you got
to Norman
this.
Reedus.
You killed them zombies. You can do this.
Yep. He does. He has a motorcycle. That was probably one of his requests. He's like, I gotta have a motorcycle.
I'm Daryl. I need a motorcycle.
Yeah. But there were some hints at what that game is going to be, and like some of it looks like time travel or something, because he was fighting and shooting people during World War I. So,
okay,
I don't know.
Interesting.
There was a lot of like connecting to the baby, and the baby seeing other stuff, and yeah, that stuff I have no idea what's going on. Probably won't even after I'm done with the game. But
I for quite a while have had zero faith that this game will be remotely good. I hope I'm proven like I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I don't think this turns out good.
What's the release date on this?
November of this year.
This year?
Yeah.
So they're banking in on there being their holiday game for sure. Definitely Sony will lean into that.
Yep. It seems like you're traveling though. Like you have to get point A to point B across the country. That seems like what the game is, and there's obstacles like take your ladder out and go up the mountain and do all this other stuff, and people are trying to stop you, but
Sounds very video gamey.
yeah.
I'll have to watch this.
Yeah.
This just came out today, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna play it. I don't know if it's gonna be good or bad, but
I guarantee you they get support to like PlayStation 5. Like it'll be Death
At this point, you
Stranded,
have to.
Strandier edition. Although I'm curious is like what ports will like if it's all backwards compatible, will they just do like a texture pack that like installs your PS5 and like it's just the same game? Because that's all they'd have to do, right?
I mean, that's kind of how they're showing off the PlayStation 5 right now, right? They're
Right.
showing Spider-Man just being better.
Right.
So I'm guessing going forward, that might be just what it is.
Which I'm totally down with. I don't need a whole like 2 years of the first gen of this. The first wave of this gen was just nothing but ports. Because guess what? The exclusives were not really good or there at the beginning of this console. I mean, as much as I squeezed out a knack, I just had to break down and buy Diablo 3. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting news, though, release date. I think that was kind of, I thought, like you said, I think everybody thought that and Last of Us 2 were probably going to be like, I was thinking almost like a GameCube Wii Twilight Princess situation, or in this case, Breath of the Wild. We just had that with Nintendo. But.
Yeah. Last of Us did get pushed to next year.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. So.
I won't be surprised if that launches alongside PS5. I could see that.
Yeah.
I didn't play the last one, so
it's good. I think it gets.
You said it's super intense, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that's one of those games that like. I don't know if I just waited too long to play it, and like it had been so hyped up that I was just. It was really like I don't mean to put it down. It's a very good game. It's just it's not like the earth-shattering game. I think what they do good is tell a story that's good, and the character acting is good.
It's probably one of the best stories in games for sure.
It's just the gameplay. I've played Uncharted before. Like, cool, you put zombies in it, but it's still Uncharted. I'm sorry.
Well, and there's so much tension in that game too, and I'm not sure if I like that.
Too much tension. I walked away from that game because I was just like, I can't. My chest was just pounding. I'm like, I gotta step away, and I haven't gone back. I'm probably halfway through that game. It's good.
That's probably the reason I didn't touch it when you were passing a stack of PS4 games. You're like, oh, try these out, and then this one, I was like, is this good? And you're like, it's pretty intense, and those aren't my type of games. I'm like, I'll just pass that one down the line. So
I liked everything about the story, the character development, and the world. It was just too many like tense moments, and I'm not good with that because like some people can control their hands and like reflexes, but like basically like I'm like Butterfingers when shit jumps at me on the screen. I hit every button wrong. I click the L and R. It's bad. That's why I can't play like Call of Duty anymore.
That's the thing. Like the tension comes from because you're in control of the situation. You can control whether or not you're going to be, scared shitless, basically.
Right.
And if you screw up, you're going to get scared shitless.
Yeah. I suck at controlling that. Yes.
Yeah.
100% agree. And I played on easy even because I was just like, I just want to experience this, and I still sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely tense.
I think 2 is going to be pretty amazing though, based on what we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm. Also next month, well, June anyway, the PlayStation Plus games, you get Sonic Mania and Borderlands.
The Borderlands like HD update thing that just came out?
It's the Handsome collection, so it's like all
nice.
All of the old Borderlands games.
Well, is it all of them or just 2?
Did you say the Hanson collection?
Handsome Jack
like
collection?
Umbop Hanson collection?
That would probably be right up their alley, but no, it's Handsome.
Oh,
I thought that was just 2 and the precursor legacy.
It legitimately sounded like Hanson.
Handsome, they're the same thing, right?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it all of them, or is it just 2 and the precursor legacy in that one? I didn't think it had the first one in it, or am I wrong?
Oh, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, it probably doesn't. That one probably wasn't updated HD, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I remember not having one of them. But...
I haven't experienced
Cool,
any of the Borderlands games. I have Borderlands 2 on VR, just because it kind of was a bundle game in with that Beat Saber pack. And I just haven't gotten into it. It just moves a lot. So
seems like a very bad way to play that game.
I know.
Me, but...
Yeah, I can't get past like just the tutorial. I'm like, I've had enough of this, so I'm not experiencing it the right way.
I haven't even tried it because I got that same bundle you did, and I'm like, I know that's gonna make me sick, so I'm just gonna not play it. But Borderlands 2, I think, is a very good game. It's just it's one of those games that I got too late. The community was mostly gone, at least people actively playing it a lot on console. So I never really got too far because it's an okay game, but like it'd be much more enjoyable with a couple people.
Yeah, but you have to have committed people because I've played through that game about 3 times, 50% through, and like the guys that you're playing with just kind of drop off of it. Then you're like, oh, and then you found another person to play, and they're like, well, I got to start from the beginning. And
well, how about this? Once we get the Handsome Jack collection, we'll all start from the beginning, and we'll complete 2. How about that?
Yeah,
I'll commit to that.
I'll commit to it on VR.
Oh boy.
So here's another thing I heard about too. I can't remember what the name of the game is called, but it's free on all consoles and PC. Maybe not Switch and cross-platform, and it's basically like the way it was described to me is it's Monster Hunter Lite. So it's just a much more accessible and free-to-play version. I cannot recall what this game is called, but it piqued my interest. I like how I introduced a topic. Hey guys, want to talk about a game that I don't know what it's called?
That sounds pretty interesting, but that totally seems like the way they should go, right? Because Monster Hunter is so much about like the way you look too. That seems like it's totally a free to play thing.
Dauntless, that's what this is called. Dauntless.
Okay.
So yeah, basically it's a kind of a clone. It's on. Let's see, what is this on? Free to play. Yeah, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. It was published by Epix Games. So I don't know. This might be one that I need to check into because I've contemplated going back to Monster Hunter because I really was intrigued by that expansion they showed at that last whatever those PlayStation things are. What do they call them?
Oh yeah,
they're directs.
State of play.
There you go. And I was like, this is amazing. And I'm like, I just cannot. Just the thought of having to get back in there, figure everything out again, and then like progress enough to get to the point to enjoy that. I'm sorry. I love that game. It was fantastic, but I cannot do it. Something like this where it's free to play and there's going to be like a huge community base because it's cross-platform on everything. And I've heard like you get like a little cursor above people's heads to let you know what platform they're on. That just means that like there's going to be a pretty big world, especially PCs out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I need to give this a try. I'm pretty curious on this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up for any type of game like that. I think Monster Hunter is a little bit too grindy for my taste.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you and I hit that brick wall together and we're like, yeah, we're good. Like this is good. I just remember that. I think that was the last afternoon I ever played it was that one where you and I just like completely failed. I think you and I both walked away at that point. I never fired it up again, but
no, me neither.
But we beat the game.
And just like you said, the thought of going back to that, like that whole game is you're bumping against the top end of your abilities every time, and you finally beat it. So I can't imagine like losing skill now and then going back to what you were doing. That seems impossible.
It's a game full of like the highest highs and the lowest lows, and there's like very little in between. Yeah. So yeah, Dauntless. Might be one to check out.
Very cool.
I'm gonna download it on my PS4 right now. Actually, when we're talking.
So I got an email from GameStop.
Oh.
and they titled it basically saying, "Oh, a great new benefit is on its way to you."
We're closing.
uh, they will be, I think, after this. Uh, so what was it? Probably 6 months ago, they had their Power Up Rewards program. They used to give you 20% if you did the paid version. They cut that, and now you only get 10% off all purchases, all pre-owned stuff, if you have that. They sent me a nice email saying that, oh, they're changing that. They're getting rid of the 10%, but they're replacing it with a $5 coupon that you get every month. And that coupon expires
Oh, I've heard about
at
this.
the end of every month. And that seems like it just seems terrible. Like, who is going to fall for that? Like, who's going to pay money? I think it's $15 a year or $20 a year or something like that. I forget what it is. I mean, you get Game Informer,
For now.
for now. But for me, who has bought a ton of stuff from GameStop, which I'm not the normal GameStop customer, for sure.
Right.
I'm not their target, I guess. But that 10% even is a way better deal to me than $5.
Well, and they're trying to force traffic into their store, right, on a regular basis. Like if you get it and it's going to expire, yeah. I mean, that sucks.
Yeah. If that was like a free thing, I could see it. Like if it was like the free program and you got $5 off a purchase every month, that's pretty solid.
Right.
But when you're paying for it, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and if they let it carry over, even like let's say they let it carry over month to month through the course of the calendar year, and you just had to use it all by the end, so it could build to a point where you could get a new release. But I mean, you're just chipping away at more expensive purchases, and I don't know.
I don't understand. Like in the position that they're at, they need high volume customers,
right?
And this type of thing only benefits the person that is buying a $15 game a month where they get $5 off. That's a great deal for them. But how much money are they making off that one person where somebody who's going to be buying how many used games a month no longer gets 10% off? What do they... They'll just go to Amazon or something then, right?
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say is like we now live in a world where nobody offers a reward program, right? Like Best Buy's discontinued theirs, like that's legacy. I mean, we're in the last months of that still existing. Amazon stopped their discount program. Like maybe instead of like trying to find gimmicky ways to apparently give people a discount and get them in their store, like how about you just provide better customer service, get staff in there that you've paid a decent wage to give a shit about their job, and like stop filling your store with knickknacks and trash. Like, they missed out on like one of the key things that they could have got to like drive rabid revenue into their store, and that was partnering with limited run games. Like Best Buy, like killer partnership there. That's the type of demographic that GameStop could have latched onto and like started doing more projects like that. More of the stuff they did like with Song of the Deep. Like focus on something that like infuses into that rabid current like collectors market instead of like trying to throw a coupon at college kids. I don't get it.
Yeah, and would they lose like 700 million last?
It's not good.
Their last earnings. Like it's not going to be good.
No, I mean let's be honest. They're not savable on the current trajectory, and like that current trajectory is probably. Do you think they have another fiscal year? I don't think so. I mean, now without a massive liquidation.
I mean, if they had a better strategy, they might be able to float, but like this isn't it. You're just taking value away from a customer at this point. To most customers, or your most valuable customers, anyway.
Yeah.
I think all those things are important. All the background stuff obviously is very important, but I think a lot of it happens up front. And I'm pretty forward with, like, I cannot stand GameStop. I never have a good experience in there. The employees always suck. If you're an employee listening to this, I'm sorry. But like they just, every time I've gone in hopes to get something, or if I'm looking for a certain game, if I don't want to go across town, whatever, I'll stop in there and I never have a good experience. I want them to be a video game store, whether that's geek culture stuff, whatever. I want them to be a video game store. I want them to understand video games, and be salesmen second, to that. I want them to be passionate about what we're passionate about. That's what most people in sales do anyways. And so when I go in and I'm just kind of browsing, and the first thing you are saying, do you want to pre-order this, this, and this? And you don't even know what I'm interested in or what I'm even looking at. That drives me nuts. And then the next guy walks in behind me. This was just a couple weeks ago. First word in, are you looking to pick up a Switch today? And it's like, the guy just walked in. You don't know what he's looking for. Maybe he has something on pre-order. And it just, you have to fix some of that front end stuff where it's not so sales driven or direct sales driven that you want it to be a bearable place, not just a place that you just pre-order crap because they're getting the kickbacks on that. Drives me nuts.
Well, I'm not even sure if they get kickbacks. From what I understand, a lot of that is quotas, and if you don't...
Yeah, I think you just get to keep your job is
Yeah.
kind of where they're at.
Sure, I mean, right. And then, all the changes in the background obviously need to happen, but yeah, it is the people up front too that you have to change the face of the store and change what people think of the store. I just don't see a lot of people going in there anymore. They'd rather go to Best Buy, get their stuff over there, and not have to deal with the bull crap.
They just suck at the whole pre-order
price.
thing too, because like even like the good local shops beat them at that game, and they'll offer like $5 to $10 off a new game if you pre-order through them because they can. Like they just want to get people in their store, even though it means less profit off the bat. So yeah, GameStop is, and to your point, like they should be knowledgeable. I think my favorite GameStop story of like the last year was walking in to buy a screen protector for my Switch, and I brought it up to the counter, and the guy's like, "Oh, broke your screen, huh?" I'm like, "What? No. Do you understand what this does?" I'm like, "I'm buying this so I don't break my screen." Like, God.
Oh, jeez.
Idiot. Ugh. GameStop.
Yeah. I mean, there is like the GameStop employee. It just seems like they're mindless and like they don't have, I don't know. They're not on the same wavelength. Seems like they're kind of robots half the time, because I've never, very few times in all the GameStops I've been, that there's been a meaningful conversation about a game that I was going to buy or talk about,
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's discourages talking about games with customers or what, but
I think it's just the fact that like in any business, like you have to have a structure and then like compensation in place to pay enough to get people that will care. And I don't think they do, like, especially even at like a store manager level. Like if you're paying a store manager, like I can't imagine they make nearly enough to make it worth it. Then he's going to hire people to work part-time under him for like next to nothing. I mean, you get what you pay for. Because I can remember, like, if you remember kind of like when software etcs were still around, but part of that umbrella, like kind of that, I feel like that era of like Xbox, Dreamcast, GameCube, PlayStation 2, like I had pretty good experiences, a lot of GameStops, like most of the staff was knowledgeable, they were passionate about gaming, but that was also like right at like the cultural like crossroads of where it was becoming mainstream and gaming was on fire, and like you had your big first pre-orders like the Halo 2 launch and stuff. And like it was a very small window of like a year or two, and then it just feels like GameStop has progressively just not been able to keep staff that aren't just complete boobs. I'm sorry. Like a lot of, I mean, I'm sure there's great ones, but at least where we live, it's not been good for many, many years.
yeah.
GameStop.
Got me all fired up now.
Enjoy
Doggone it.
your coupons, Andy.
Yeah.
You know what will make it better though? Is that Sonic the movie just got pushed back so that they could perfect the look of Sonic. So it got pushed back to 2020. I think it's in February, maybe Valentine's Day. I think Ryan was saying. So we went on a rant, maybe the last podcast or the podcast before that one, on video games and movies, and when you merge them, it doesn't always go well. And so this is one that they heard the cries, more like screaming, not cries, of the fans to change the look, and they actually listened. So I don't know what that's going to be like, or if that's going to change the minds of people, if they're actually going to change it, or if they're just behind schedule anyways. I'd be really interested to know.
I'm guessing they realized, oh crap, this is way more work than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
right, I'm sure. Obviously Sonic, there's going to be majority of the scenes are going to have them in it, and you've kind of scaled everything to whatever you developed and created. I just think it's funny that what they put out in this movie, there was not one question of, he doesn't quite look like Sonic. Do you think people are going to have a problem with this? Like, they went with it, and now it takes all these people to complain he doesn't look like Sonic, from them to be like, yeah, we should probably change it. You guys aren't happy with that. Like, at what point do you say,
all these test groups are crazy? Yeah. The thing is, like, this is gonna be a bunch of work too, right? And like, if I replay that trailer in my head and overlay good-looking Sonic on top of it, it still isn't a movie I think is gonna be good, which is the sad part.
That's where I think this is a bad business move. They should just shoved it out the way it was. even, yeah. I mean, they made the wrong decision in the first place, obviously, but like, I don't know if this is going to be like, oh, okay, you change it, then I'll spend some money on it.
Right. Yeah, it could have been like the best worst movie scenario, right? Where you just lean into the fact that it's terrible, so everyone laughs at it and loves it for that reason.
Yep.
Poor Jim Carrey.
What do you think this is going to do with the budget? I wonder what the cost of making those changes.
Well, let's say they doubled their budget, which apparently was $20. I think they'll be okay.
$40 and a few milkshakes. Yeah. We got this.
Do you think they turned him into like some stretchy guy that can move? Like, can you imagine
like
all those?
Gumby?
Well, like they film all the real guy, all the real actors in there, and they have to interact with the model that was there in the first place. So, like, imagine all that stuff where, like, if they're handing him something or whatever, they're going to have to, like, make whatever new model do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Now you just do what George Lucas did, and just, like, when Han Solo's stepping over Jabba the Hutt, it just, like, chugs, like, over, and then he walks, and he, like, slowly comes back. No one will notice. It's perfectly fine.
So...
I think it'll be funny when they say, okay, we fixed it, and then they release it and there's Mario in it. Something like that. Like, you got a Mario or Knuckles, they threw somebody completely random in there, and this is what you guys get. Sorry.
Yeah.
It didn't take long, though, for them to respond to all those people complaining about the trailers. So.
Yeah. Which is
interesting.
Which is a weird... I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I think they're probably making the right choice, but I think it's a little scary that we live in a world where the internet can change how something artistically comes out after it's essentially shipped, right? Like, it's done. It was done. Like, I don't know. That's a very kind of disturbing thing to me, but...
What happened?
For something that we don't even know the full look of it, the full story of it. I mean, we could do that with any movie that comes out, which is pretty awesome. I think the next whatever comes out, some romantic comedy, we just chew it up and they're like, all right, we're going to put Ashton Kutcher back in this. I'm sorry. We're going to take Adam Sandler's out.
I hope nobody on the internet asks for that in any movie. We need more Ashton Kutcher.
Right, I don't know. I'm trying to think of rom-com people.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that would be. Yeah, I mean that stuff happens in games right now. Even like they launch games and then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huge outcry. I mean, look at No Man's Sky. That game is not even the same thing as it was.
Well, they also lied horribly and dropped the turd. So. Plus, they got caught up in their own lie for showing a fake trailer. And fake gameplay footage.
Yeah. But I mean, they've kind of gotten to the place where they're at with that game because of
Listening to their fan base.
yeah.
It's true. So what you're saying is we're getting an Oscar for Sonic?
Yeah, I mean,
Potentially.
just bake that movie a little bit more. Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
They should create create your own adventure video game or movie where they put up two things. So like, okay, pick which one. Like vote whoever has the most votes. That's the thing that goes in, and then they throw the next thing up. Okay.
You know
So
what we
basically
should do?
create your own movie that way.
Now that we know the internet has this much power, is we should start a public outcry that the plot twist at the end of the movie is that his human companion who played Cyclops like actually dons and becomes Cyclops, and he's like the Tails replacement to Sonic's. He's the sidekick, and that's how they defeat Dr. Robotnik.
That's great.
I think this could work.
I love it.
We're gonna get an
Let's do it.
X-Men
Let's get to
cross
Twitter.
Sonic game, fighting game.
Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
I would love it
All
if
right,
they made a
listeners, we can
game
do
that
this.
made the changes in for the movie. That'd be great too.
Started out ugly and then got fixed, and
Yeah. There was a PlayStation 3 game, I want to say. It launched with a TV show. And like as the game was played, whatever was happening in the game, they would like record that in the TV show. Like it changed how the TV show progressed. It
Weird.
was really weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
well, I know I've told you guys like I haven't really been game hunting or anything much lately, but I did want to let you guys know that I am now the proud owner of a pinball table. I've always wanted one. I now own my own personal table. Classic design here. This is
Beautiful.
This is
What
like
kind of plunger do you have on
the
that?
18-inch model. It's called the Juke Jubilee. Very rare. I think it's a Stern, possibly.
Is that the deluxe edition?
It is, and you can tell it's the deluxe because it misses the battery panel that holds in the 4 D batteries. So you have to use tape, which is great.
Is this the one that they released at Midwest Gaming Classic?
Yeah, I think so. It was exclusive. Yes. Yep.
I thought it was Willy Wonka, but I guess it was
no.
wrong.
It was
I'm
Juke
sorry.
Jubilee, of course.
Juke
Don't be
Jubilee.
silly.
That's right. That's fancy.
Yes. And for anyone who can't see it, because this is an audio podcast.
No, we don't tell them. Don't tell them. Just
Okay,
leave it as it is.
Google it. Juke Jubilee. Rarest pinball table ever.
I'm pretty happy that I found a Sonic the Hedgehog boombox, which seems like the most 90s thing in the world.
You were the perfect
That's
person to bring
stinking
that
awesome.
home.
Yes.
I just applauded that when I saw that picture. Does it work?
I haven't tested it yet, but
It doesn't
'cause
matter.
it
It's
didn't-
still awesome.
it didn't come with a power cord, and yeah, like you, I need D batteries, so
And who has
Gotta
those
get them.
anymore?
right.
I got D's nuts. Does that help you? My mom likes to send me like frogs mating outside their house.
All right, moving on to the Failbag, where we answer 20-year-old magazine questions as if they were addressed to us. I'm in old Nintendo Power number 19. Mr. Steve Wozniak, that one from Apple, he actually wrote into Nintendo Power. Says, my first score in excess of 500,000 was 517,000. He's talking about Tetris. And that was on July 26th. Even though I had it only 167 lines. Photographs of both screens are in, scores are enclosed. And I will write again when I score 600,000.
That's kind of cool that he wrote in, but is that a good score? I don't know. I haven't played original OG Tetris in so long.
I have no idea, but I just thinks it's so strange that like one of the founders of Apple is writing in.
Right.
I
Talking about his
think I've
story.
heard this before. I can't remember. It might have been on a YouTube channel somewhere that someone was talking about. Steve Wozniak wrote in. So that's kind of cool. It is cool, but I don't know. 600,000? Okay. Sounds good to me.
I mean,
I don't even know what the world record is.
Probably a lot.
Maybe.
yeah. I mean, didn't he invent Breakout pretty much?
Maybe. Because, yeah, he
I wanna
did
say
like
it was
some
him.
game design, right? Before like a lot of the computer stuff.
Yeah, I want to say that was him.
So was this on Game Boy, NES,
Game Boy.
Game Boy?
Do they show the pictures?
Yeah, it shows him holding his Game Boy up. So it's legit that it's actually him.
But you can read the screen when it's that far out, or does he have like two photos?
Well, I can't tell in what I have, but
He was photoshopping them back then.
yeah,
Bastard.
It wasn't real.
he probably could, yeah. He was probably like an Apple port that he like
ROM hacked.
made himself. Yeah.
What a jerk.
Uh-huh.
Well, I think 600,000 or even 550,000 is not bad because the record is 748,757.
Wow.
So I would consider that not too shabby.
Yeah, I wonder if he ever did reach 600,000 then. That would be.
Or something like that. 441 lines and 748,000.
Wow. That doesn't seem like that many lines in the grand scheme of
Although
like all those
going
people.
through YouTube, there's stuff that's the way more than that. So I'm not really sure. Yeah, 999,999. So,
Wow.
but that's on the NES. So the Game Boy 700 some thousand.
Dang.
So that's Steve Wozniak. Way to go, buddy.
Very nice.
Gold star for you.
He was a master.
He had nothing better to do, running
Right.
a huge company. 91, that had to have been right around that big push for Macintosh.
Computers.
Yeah. Patty from Florida. She says, when my husband went to Saudi Arabia in September as part of Operation Desert Shield, he took my son's Game Boy and 3 games with him. That's rough.
I love you, son. I'm taking your Game Boy.
Yeah. You're not going to see me
Just to remember you by.
My son's Game Boy got the workout of its life. The troops spent a lot of time in the desert just waiting around. They said that the Game Boy was a great way to pass the time.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know even in the New York Nintendo store, they have the Game Boy that
Survived the blast.
survived a blast, and it's all melted, but the screen's still working. And I mean, yeah, that thing's practically bulletproof, which is amazing and tough. Even, I mean, now, many years later, they're still operating fairly well for the most part. You get some screens that are out, but
So, in the town that I grew up in, there was a veterans home, and you'd have to go there for like certain classes or like groups, like Boy Scouts. I just remember there was this one guy, I can't remember his name, really nice dude, and he would tell the story about like his Bible, and he kept like a pocket Bible in his breast chest, and then he looked down after an explosion in the war one day, and like there was like this giant like dagger piece of shrapnel that pierced through like all but the last 10 pages of this Bible. I'm just picturing like the Game Boy with the same thing where like there's this massive explosion and it's like it went all the way through the Game Boy but not the backside of that Tetris cartridge, and saved my life.
And it still works.
Still,
can you imagine them on a covert mission where they're sitting in like quiet tanks and the guy is just trying to get the time to pass by and calm down, and the volume's all the way up. He's like, "Oh my gosh!"
The enemies are outside, and that's all they hear is like a Russian jingle.
Yeah, there's a Russian tank coming.
The Russians! Oh my god!
Dang it, Billy, you stupid asshole! Turn the volume down.
I didn't realize this until I started selling games a lot, that our military actually plays a lot of video games.
I believe it.
There's a lot that gets sent to bases all over the world. It's insane.
I suppose when like you're not allowed to like leave that often, and like you've got a finite amount of space, like a console is kind of a great way to escape your daily routine.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I have a few military friends, and they said sometimes it is just waiting around for the next orders, and so you're just trying to find things to pass the time. So, I believe that they have everything there to just sit and wait sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
And that's when I also realized that this last year when we went down to Omaha, we're like, oh, there's this really great chain of stores. There's one more down south. We started heading that way. It's actually on the Air Force Base.
Yeah.
We start like going there like, oh, maybe we won't go to that one.
And then, I like whipped a shitty like 20 feet from the gate, and like I'm all panicked. I'm like, am I going to get pulled over now? Do they have my license plate? What's going to happen to me? I'm not a terrorist. I just like games. Leave me alone. Yeah. Yeah.
But they probably do pretty well there. A lot of.
I bet you some of those places are honey holes, though, of just guys having to dump off their stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah. New orders or the moving bases, and they just can't bring it. I bet you're right.
Yep. We didn't find out that day.
Next year, you're going to need to start basic, Andy, and get us in there.
Yep.
You're the youngest. You can make it happen.
Yep. He's also the fattest.
Well, you have the most kids, too, so I feel guilty about this. I don't want to send you off to get hurt somewhere.
Can I take their Game Boys?
It's for the better. It's for our country.
It's true.
What a double whammy, though. Like, I feel bad for that kid. Like, your dad's, I'm leaving, son. You're not going to see me for a while. Oh, I'm taking your Game Boy, too.
Right. Yeah, what if the worst had happened? You'd be like, traumatized and you'd hate video games forever.
Yep.
My God.
Sorry, did I go too
Can you
dark?
imagine? So, no. But, okay, with our collections, if you had, I know this is such a stupid cliche question, but they're not going to be grabbing full things of video games. They grab maybe one or two. It sounded like he grabbed like 3 Game Boy games. I mean, I'd be standing for hours being like, which one do I grab? I don't know. So.
It's true.
Yeah, that would be tough, especially Game Boy games. Because, like, you can beat Kirby's Adventure in, like, 30 minutes?
Okay, so,
It's a great game, but...
Let's do this. Like, if you could pick the 3, what 3 would you take?
Oh, God.
You get deployed.
Tetris has to be
I would
one,
take
right?
Tetris for 1, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
After that, boy. Probably Pokemon.
Okay, assuming that this is... Now, Pokemon wouldn't have been out by then.
Mario?
Not at this point, no.
Which Mario?
The Game Boy one. I don't know.
3.
I know there's a Mario. Is it World?
There's Super Mario Land,
World?
Mario Land 2, and then Mario Land 3,
Land, yeah.
Wario Land.
Yeah.
I think I would probably maybe do Samus Returns, like that game. And then I'd need like one more arcadey feeling game.
Could do your radar mission as you're doing a radar mission.
That's true. That would fit. It's 2 games in 1.
Yeah.
There you go. Nailed it.
Do it. Play while you're on an aircraft carrier.
That's not an easy question to answer.
It's not. I've played so many Game Boy games over the year and I've forgotten so many. Like when I go through my collection, I forget what games I even have. It's crazy.
So Mark from Michigan says, I'm 20 years old and I'm a member of Theta Chi fraternity at Eastern Michigan University.
I'm sorry.
And I'm ready to tell you about one of our spring breaks. so buckle up. This is going to be a hell of a story.
It's gonna get too raunchy.
For this podcast, it's
Okay, yeah, that's true.
a little
Yeah.
racy.
In March, 2 of my fraternity brothers and I decided to drive to South Padre Island, which is in the Gulf
All right.
of Mexico off the southern tip of Texas. Took us a little over 20 hours to get there, driving straight through. Okay. The Game Boy came in really handy in passing the time on their way there and back, and that's only the beginning. When we arrived, about 14 of our fraternity members were already there. We ended up spending about half of our time playing Game Boy in our hotel room. Tetris and Super Mario Land were the big hits that drained our vacation time. The humor in all this is that even the weather was nice and the girls were gorgeous, we still spent all of our vacation playing Game Boy. Just goes to show that you don't have to take a vacation to have a great time. Next time, just pull out the old Game Boy and save some money.
All right, so how this story should have ended was, so I traveled with my Game Boy, but that's not the end of the story. 3 days into our bender, I woke up and couldn't find my Game Boy. Here it was lodged in my fraternity brother's ass, and we had to go to the doctor to get it removed. The irony in all this, Dr. Mario was in the Game Boy. It still works. That's where I thought this was going. That's more plausible.
Yeah.
They really built this story up like just you wait what happened on spring break.
Yeah, wild and crazy
Okay.
parties.
Playing Game
There
Boy.
you go.
It's disappointing.
Sounds like a video game club more than a fraternity. But
Of course, he would write into Nintendo Power.
Milo from Pennsylvania says, I love Nintendo Power. My favorite game is Super Mario Bros. 3 because I love raccoons. In fact, I have 2 of my own. One is an albino with white fur and red eyes. That's what albino means. The other, which is black and brown, and I named him Tanuki.
Okay. Who keeps raccoons as pets?
I was going to say, do you think the rabies is worth the cuteness of...
I actually work with someone who kept a raccoon as a pet. She's been raising it for like the last year. It's super cute looking, but I don't know, man.
And then you wake up and it's clawing at your eyeball.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're creepy little animals with a vicious streak. I just can't imagine. Can you buy, like, is that a thing? Can you get domesticated raccoons? Like, is it legal anymore?
I highly
Yeah, I
doubt.
can't imagine, right?
Yeah, that seemed... Yeah.
Because I doubt a veterinary clinic would treat them. Like, I doubt they're allowed to treat them.
Yeah.
So you'd have to like find somebody to do it, like at a farm, like D-rabies, like cattle or something. D-rabies that vaccinates them, not D-rabies. Dumb. I guess it's
Plus,
cool that
like-
there's an albino one, right?
Tanuki. I mean, that's a pretty clever name.
Yep.
For any type of
But
animal,
isn't the
but a
tanuki an
raccoon.
actual animal that is just the tanuki? So by naming a raccoon a tanuki, that's like naming my cat dog. It's weird.
You should.
Yeah,
name your
Tanuki
cat.
is a Japanese raccoon dog.
There you go. Boy, I was like almost spot on that. The dog thing and everything.
Good job. Good job. You're really good at your Japanese.
I have a hard enough time keeping my kids out of stuff that I don't want them to be in. Can't even imagine what a raccoon would be like.
I'm sure it'd be hell.
You wake up in the morning for cereal and open the door and it's just like chilling in there.
Plus, aren't they like they're nocturnal by nature, right? Like for the most part, they would be very
think so.
active at night, which would suck.
Every morning, clean up the kitchen.
Yeah, that would be bad. I wonder. I suppose you must be able to like litter box train them. I would hope. Otherwise, you're just gonna have feces everywhere. Not ideal.
Gross.
Hey, but it's like a tanuki, so it's cute.
Yeah, it's
right?
totally worth it.
Here's another story about like a system that was completely destroyed and still worked. Jason from Oregon. I read that you wanted to hear about disasters. Well, I have a good one for you. It started when my family moved. I put my NES in its box to be moved with the rest of our stuff. When the truck arrived at our new house, I ran out and immediately started to dig for my NES. To my amazement, a chair had fallen, and a leg was stuck in the NES box.
Oh no!
When I saw it, I freaked out. I opened it up, and it looked terrible. There was a giant hole punched in the top of the control deck. I cleaned out the broken plastic and put in Mario Brothers 2, and wow, it works. And you can see the game pack through the hole. Works fine.
It's a peephole. Lets you know
That's
what game's
pretty cool.
in there.
I like that.
Yeah, the NES, I mean, is kind of bulletproof, but I'm surprised I didn't destroy it.
Other than the
With the pins and all that stuff.
other than the crappy way they engineered it in the first place.
Yeah. I suppose
Right.
it's just luck of the draw that it punched through the top side of the box and not the bottom, because like
Yeah.
obviously the bottom is where all your like actual guts are. So
Right. And I think most people don't, I mean, even a kid that age would probably not know what the inside of an NES looks like.
Mhm.
And so just like the NES carts, you assume that the board is all the way up and like it's filled with all the stuff, but it's pretty much empty for the most part.
yep.
So that's probably like, oh man, awesome. I can see my game in there and actually see that there's not much in there. It's just a wide open piece of plastic.
Yep. It's all just for looks.
But it looks like a VCR, so it's not a toy.
Not a video game system.
Other than that, I think that's going to do it for the questions that I'm going to field today. So, Nate, do you want to wind this up?
I'll wind this up and let it ride. I don't even know what that means. All right. Anyways, we'd love to hear your emails. Send them to us. Pictures, anything video game related. We'd love to get some emails. Please send us some emails. weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. You should check us out on our social medias. Of course, Facebook. There's a lot going on there, as well as our Twitter at Weekend Rental PC. And you can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendpodcast.com. And as always, be kind, rewind.
It's beating time!
You know, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.